Hello, everyone, and welcome to the v19 R7 webinar. We are very happy to welcome you today with Mathieu and the product team here as well. We are going to present our selection of new features and, of course, answer your questions. To you, Dimitri, if you want to add anything.
Hello and welcome. I'm Dimitri Seigneuray, an international sales engineer here at 4D, and it's a great pleasure to welcome you here at this v19 R7 webinar presentation. I want to say a special hello to people connecting here from Australia, China, Japan, UK, Sweden, Spain, Italy. You're so many guys, so we are very pleased to welcome you here, and it's a great pleasure. So in this webinar presentation, we will introduce you new feature, and we will answer as well your questions. So please use the Q&A box that you will see just on your Zoom panel if you have any question. We will also send you the recording in the coming days so that you can watch it again. And at the same time, during this presentation, we will send you some links about the blog so that you can have some more information on the v19 R7. So let's get started. Enjoy, and once more time, thank you for being here. Mathieu, it's up to you now.
Thank you, Dimitri. So hello, I'm Mathieu Ferry, head of the product team of 4D. Today, our webinar is divided into 4 main sections. And after each section, as we already said, we will take a break to answer your questions. And for this, use the Q&A box in your Zoom window. So we'll start with some big news for developers. And then we will present you a very interesting feature for deployment. In a third part, you will see that 4D for mobile brings a new powerful feature as well, to customize your mobile apps. We will continue with 4D View Pro and its new commands, and we'll finish with a focus on 4D Write Pro, for which we've brought some great new features. Again, you will see that. So each time, as we said, and I repeat that, we have inserted a link to a blog post for each highlight, and this will allow you to consult, to read the blog, to get much more details about the features we present today. So let's go for developer news.
So 4D already allows applications still running in binary mode to take advantage of class features by using a component, the component being in project mode, to create your own classes and use them from your binary mode application. So if you're still in binary mode and you want to take use of make use of classes, you're still able to by putting that class code in a component that's in project mode, and you're able to make the calls from the binary mode. And this feature came with tips and code completion to support your code writing. And to make the code experience even easier, 4D19R7 is bringing a new feature. From now on, you can visualize a list of all available component classes in the Method Explorer, so you can decide in a glimpse of an eye which function to use in your code. See, we have the component method here on the right. We have the component method, and then you click class 1, and you see exactly what's going on in the class. In the preview editor or in the documentation, you have that as well. So a lot more easy for a developer. And the file and folder commands, which appeared in 19R7, enables you to manage folders and files on disk in a more modern and efficient way, we feel. And we watch the feature request forums and love your ideas. And when the developer community thinks that we fall short, we come through. And to take this post by Patrick Emmanuel, for example, he asked for a way to append text into to files like he's doing in other languages. So, and we solved that by introducing file handles. And this was done with file handles. So you may be aware of file handles in other languages like C and things like that. And now you got them in 4D. And here, look at this code. This code creates this code has a constructor that creates a file handle, and that file handle will append to the log every time you write line. So pretty simple and pretty easy to use. You can now append directly to your files. So yeah, you can read and write text. You can read and write lines with automatic management of line breaks that you can define. So if you want CLRF to be your line break, then you can. If you want various different types of line breaks, you can go wild. And you can get the size of a document as well. And you can also read and write blobs as needed. So file handles are your friends. So, and Listbox Say Goodbye to the Alt key. So the title says it all. Starting with 19R7, there's no need to hold the Alt key anymore when you want to move several items in a selection from a list box. So this is, for us, this is a more user-friendly interface. This operation required, so before the operation required pressing the Alt key. So if you selected multiple elements of a list box and you wanted to move those elements, you had to press Alt, click in one, and then move them. And that actually is not the modern way of doing that sort of operation that people are used to on either Mac OS or Windows when they're managing their files and folders. So now now with 4019R7, you now no longer need to press the Alt key in order to do that. So select them, click one of them, and now you can drag. And you may worry that this may confuse your end users, right? If they want to press the Alt key and then something else happens, don't worry. For compatibility's sake, we kept the Alt key functionality defined at the way that it was when you do a multiple selection and drag as well. So nothing to worry about, just a new way, a new free feature inside 4D for you to be able to use. Super cool. And so 40 extension. So there's a 40 analyzer for Visual Studio's code. So one second, let me just quickly. I was trying to getting really a lot of sun in my eye. So 40 brought external source code editors support Visual Studio's code, allowing them to handle 40 code and provide them with standard functionalities such as syntax highlighting using the language server protocol. Now, this was implemented inside 4D to provide for many improvements in the method editor. Most notably, we now have a better tokenization in the 4D code editor. And one benefit of this was that we're able to have a VS Code extension in 4D called 4D Analyzer, which was delivered in 19R6. Now, 19R7 brings two new capabilities to that, to 4D Analyzer, the go-to definition and signature help. And go-to definition lets your Visual Studio's, your VS Code environment work like your 4D environment, whereby when you click the go-to definition, like in the screen capture right there, it jumps to the appropriate definition of a process variable, parameter, a class, what name you, whatever you need. And we also have the signature help. So the signature help provides, when you highlight, when you're typing your code, it provides either auto completion, or it provides the tip like the 4D method editor does as well. So if you're interested in using Visual Studio's code, there's no need to use Visual Studio's code, but if for whatever reason you want to use Visual Studio's code, you want to just pop open a file, feel free to, you can do it. And with your 4D analyzer, you're able to do it with confidence that you're typing the right code. Okay. Now, let's move on to a simple but powerful new feature. So design on Mac and Windows has evolved over the years. While black and white with sharp corners used to be the trend, as you can see on the left, rounded corners are now a major design feature in modern applications, as you can see from the control panel right there. So this approach, and applies to both operating systems and applications. So in order to help you with that, we've created in the user face the ability to have rounded corners. So now this is a small UI thing that can have a large impact on your design. So, and it helps keep your application modern and in line with market and OS trends. So you can now round the corners of static text, input text, thanks to the new corner radius attribute. And specifying its value can be done via the UI in the properties list, CSS, or in code. Okay. So very cool. And the toolbar has also been modified to modernize and to be modernized and standardized across all 40 windows. Now, when hovering over tables, fields, or relationship, helpful information is displayed in the status bar at the bottom of that screen. New in 4019 R7 is the display of the relationship name directly in the status bar. So you no longer need to open the properties window to get that. It helps you write your code faster.
So we can move to the questions. To you, Mathieu.
Yeah, we have a question. So will it be possible to abstract the tokens away in Visual Studio Code? So it is already possible. I think if you mean remove the tokens away in Visual Studio Code, you already have an option to save your files without tokens, if this is what you mean. So you can really code in Visual Studio Code without tokens and share your code in GitLab without token, in GitLab or GitHub or anything else. All right. We are really interested in getting feedbacks from the community about Visual Studio Code extension. It's still some kind of initiative we are pursuing, we are improving, just to see how you feel with that kind of tool. So that we will continue to bring new features to this extension in the coming month. So don't hesitate to share with us what you think about it on the forum, for example. All right, so we'll continue this time with deployment features. So let's go.
So this is a feature for your big installations. So, and installations with an admin who is working with images especially. So share local resources between users on Windows desktop remote services with built applications. So if you're one of the developers who asks for a feature that allows for the downloading of local resources to a shared folder with the Windows desktop remote services instead of to the user account folder, then 4019 R7 is bringing great news for you. So before, this is how it worked. Every user session in an RDS, remote desktop service environment, had its own local resources folder. Now, this is a potential waste of space, disk space for many developers asked for a way to optimize this. And now in 4019 R7, we have a new XML build key or build to manage this. So this optimization results in the following: a time gain because the local resources are no longer downloaded from each server by each user, and a disk space gain, since again, local resources are not duplicated for each user in a remote desktop service environment. So, so it's a major improvement, we feel, to for people using built applications in the 4D environment or the RDS environment.
Just for the small story about this deployment feature, it was a highly voted feature in the forum. And just want to repeat here that we really pay attention to your votes in the forum. So if you want us to pay attention to a feature, create the feature request in our forum, do your stuff to bring people to vote for it, give it visibility, share, discuss with people and with the community, and at a given moment it reaches enough votes so that it gets our attention. So we get a question here about the shared resource folder. Will this feature be available also in interpreted mode or compiled mode, or only in merged application? I think the answer is it's only available in merged application at this moment. Another question about if we have an idea about the number of users this feature really works. I mean, possible network bottlenecks. We haven't seen any network bottlenecks in our testing, so please, maybe you could try. No, I right now here I don't have any specific idea of up to how many users it could reach. Maybe perhaps Damien could have an idea of current customers using that feature and how many users they are using it with it. Okay, but if you have some specific question about that implementation, we can share together. And if you want some help also to activate that, we have some professional services offers, or we can provide guidance anyway. So, and that feature was requested in the forum, so we answered it. I know the customer who asked for it in the first place. You can maybe just react in there and ask for experiences of people using it, and it's probably a good place to get community feedback about that particular point. But thank you for your questions on that feature. We are happy to generate that kind of interest. And we'll go to the next topic, which is 4D for mobile.
So the highlight of 4D for mobile is a set of so the highlight for 19R7 is the highlight feature from 19R7 for 4D for mobile, is directly from your mobile app, display real-time updates by embedding a web page served by 4D so now in your 4D for mobile app, you can now have a web area where you can display data, or you can display any sort of web content, any web content served from your 4D server. So in addition to having the convenience and using the powerful 4D backend with native abilities, you also have the advantage of leveraging the fast and consistent UI development offered by 4D tags, or whichever development environment you choose. So now you can create your designs with the technology that you want, create the user experience. The user experience remains seamless in your embedded application. You can get updated data showing in your application in a real-time environment in the web page, like for example, graphs and things like that. And you can keep your user data and offer an optimized user experience using sessions. So it may seem like a small feature, but it's a major shift in 4D for mobile. Now, HDIs are one of my favorite ways to learn and play with new 4D and 4D features. HDIs are how-to-Is, or how-to from the blog. So, and if you look at the blog, there's a new one that gives a real-life example of a store. In it, you have an inventory and stock being served by just standard 4D mobile things. And you have the shopping cart, and that is being handled in a web area. And it's a really simple application, but it shows how a flow can work with the web area and how you can have you can have your standard 40 forms. And then when you go to something a little bit outside of the 40 for mobile realm feature set, you can then add that in your web area. So it's really cool and quite intuitive as well, we feel. And the tech support team in the US has done it again as well. Nat played around with this feature and fully integrated an open source framework called Full Calendar to display a calendar inside of a full-fledged PTO, paid time off request application. Now here in this great tech note, you have the people in the organization, people in a people's table in 4D. You have their PTO requests, so the ability to make the request, manage the request, all in the simple 40 for iOS kind of purview. Now, after that, you can then display the calendar of the requests and who is going to be off in the 40 for iOS web area. So you have with it, you have a great demo and an even better document explaining how it all works together. So if charts and graphs were what was holding you back from taking the dive into 40 for mobile, here you go. Here is a way to leverage your web code inside of your 40 for mobile app. Now, and if you are interested in an app, please contact me, Ad, or your sales representative at 4D, and we'll definitely love to talk to you.
So we just saw very interesting features consisting in allowing you to embed web areas, web forms, in fact, in your mobile apps. So it's a very, very interesting features. And as we saw, a very interesting blog post about it with a shared application that you can just download and run and see what you can get from that kind of feature. We can take questions. One more question. Maybe I could also go back on that previous questions about how many users we've tested our deployment features for Windows desktop remote services. In fact, what Damien states and precise in the chat is very true. Is that the amount of users we've tested the feature is not really representative of what you could get on your site in your own environments, as it's really depending on the kind of application you have and also the kind of hardware you have. So we can test here on our own on very specific configurations, but on your site it's even more important to test by yourself and to see in your context what the feature can give. And anytime, if you have any issue, any problem, we have the support. Just call us, and we'll provide you any help you need to ensure your success on that. For the View Pro news right now. So let's go for the View Pro. Sorry.
So 4019R7 brings several new commands allowing to manage your table columns and rows more efficiently by adding or removing columns or rows depending on the user needs, and then filling them in with the data that you want. So using data contexts. So we have now VP insert table columns and rows. So you can insert your columns and rows, and you see you have little columns and rows there. You can VP table set column attributes, which allows you to set column attributes if you want to have calculations or things like that, or references to other cells in the document. So that's very powerful. You can also remove things as needed. So set them and remove them, both columns and rows. And that's great if you're using formulas, but what if you want to show data? Well, you can also create rows if you want to show data, and then you can use context with adding rows in order to fill in the data automatically as well to backfill any holes in your data. And if you have any questions on that, there is a good how do I on the 40 on the blog on how to do that. So more control and a lot easier ways to manage your data automatically in 40 View Pro. And 40 View Pro is a great tool. We use it and we're working with a lot of people on it and the integration inside of their applications. The fact that it works so seamlessly between, you can work inside of your 40 environment, create your report, and then just quickly save it into an XLS format is really a major feature that people and end users that work with other people that don't necessarily work inside 4D really love. So if you're interested in bringing 40 View Pro into your application, let us know, and we're always interested to show you how it works and to give you a heads up.
So now we're taking question and answers for 40 View Pro. Don't hesitate to post questions.
We have the whole team behind all these features.
It's the moment. Let's go to 40 Right Pro.
The first one, which is the bottom carryover rows or subtotals. So, so imagine you have a big sales table potentially spanning like a big invoice with a bunch of sales potentially spanning several pages. Great order, right? So at the end of one page, you'd like to calculate a subtotal and carry it over to the next page, and include that from the calculations on the next page, and go on, and so on and so forth. So, and this is often necessary and sometimes even legally required when editing long invoices, for example. So 40 v19 R7 allows for the inserting of a subtotal line at the bottom of each part of a respective table that can be filled automatically, which was a 19 R6 feature. And this can be done either doing either both interfaces, either the toolbar interface or the sidebar interface. The table menu, the properties menu, bottom carryover row, or the table menu for bottom carryover row, or by programming, thanks to the new attribute WK bottom carryover row. And to define this content of the cells for the carryover row, a new attribute, previous items, can be used with all the available minimum, maximum, summation, etc. for collections or entity selections. So really powerful way, really powerful and hopefully simple way to add complex subtotals into your document. And when a 40 Write Pro document is in edit mode, it is often helpful to know if it's actually been modified by the end user. So this information would allow you, the developer, or the developer, to know what actions need to be taken, or if the document needs to be saved when the form gets closed, or you can imagine for a more user-friendly experience. Nothing worse than making a bunch of changes and accidentally quitting something out without it being prompted. So the new document.modified property will quickly detect changes inside a document so that you can perform the actions accordingly. So either transparently by doing automatic saves, or by having a pop-up saying, hey, do you want to save now? So this new and straightforward property will quickly detect changes inside the document and perform the actions accordingly. Very cool. But please note, evaluating from a formula or a new image loaded from a URL is not considered a document modification. The document modification are modifications to, let's say, the body of the document and not necessarily the view of the document. So anything that changes the view of the document would not, the way that it's being viewed is not going to be a modification, but changing the text, orientation, things like that will cause the modification tag to be flagged. And once once set to true by 4D Write Pro, this property is never automatically set back to false, even if there's an undo or an export action executed. So once someone modifies a document, it's always going to be modified until you, the developer, set it back to true. So this is actually a read-write property. So it's a read-write property of 4D Write Pro document. And unlike WK date modified, WK modified is volatile, meaning that it's not stored in the document. So just there's some fine print on the way that it works, but we feel that it's very intuitive the way that it works. It's a read-write property. It's set once it's always true until it's false. Well, it's false, and then if it gets changed, it's true, and then it's always true until you change it back to false. You, the developer, changes it back to false. So everyone loves formulas, and they are an integral part of 4D Write Pro documents. They allow for the integration of a lot of information coming from the database, making your content creation more intuitive and automatic. However, if you start to get long ones, you have a ton of formulas in your document. Sometimes it's hard to know what's exactly the document and what's the formula. So now in 19R7, we allow you to display your formulas as this F symbol, as a placeholder, indicating a presence of a formula to make your documents and your document creation more precise and transparent. And this can be done via the property list, thanks to the display formula source as a symbol property, a new element in the interface, or via programming, thanks to WK display formulas as symbol attribute. So nice way to help you make sure that you know what your end result may look like. And again, you can learn a lot from the tech notes. I invite you to all check them out as they come out every month. The team works really hard, and Brad worked really hard on this one. and as 4D Write Pro is the beautiful way to produce beautiful documents. So 4D Write Pro is the way to produce beautiful documents from 4D. Now, if you're making the switch from classic print selection way of making documents to 4D Write Pro, I highly recommend you read Ad's tech note. In it, you'll find some real gems and see how much nicer it is to work with 4D Write Pro.
So we are reaching the end. We've answered all your questions so far. So what we're gonna do right now is to promote a little bit more our 4D blog. 4D blog is really active these past days because we are releasing all the features posts about R8 beta, which is opening these weeks. So you get a lot of information about the next beta and also R7 final, which is today's webinar. You also have a lot of articles about mobile apps and about everything that we are currently doing and providing in 4D. It's a great way for you to stay informed and to stay alert about our technology, and also don't hesitate to check out the forum to also share with the community. About 4D blog, one last thing to add. We recently upgraded our blog to provide you much better translation in your native languages. Before, we were just roughly translated using Google Translations, but now we have really improved this part, and we have several native translators working in your languages to really ensure a tailor-made experience reading while reading the blog. So it's really, really a new experience for you. And if you have already read the blog in the past and be a little bit disappointed about the translation, now it's the moment to come back again and read that in more than seven languages. So go on the blog, and now you have a lot of things to read, a lot of very, very, very interesting content. As usual, we really, really, really thank you for your participation today. We were a lot of people connected, so we thank you for your interest. It's the last day of January today, so I take also the opportunity of this webinar to wish you a very, very happy new year, very, very happy 2023. With a lot of success for your apps with your customers, and a lot of success with 4D. And I think now it's time for us to separate a little bit, but not for too long, not for too long. So thank you.
Thank you.